Hi fellow artists, my name is Lauren. I am the artist behind Potato Art Studios, and in this video I'll be demonstrating how I colored this hedgehog. So if you're interested in seeing my process behind how I drew this, just keep on watching. Alright, so I have my hedgehog sketch already set up. If you haven't seen my past video of how I transfer information from my reference photo onto my piece of paper, I'll leave it linked down in the description box and also have a card pop up here for you to check out. So basically I use a 1-inch grid to transfer the information from my photo to my paper, and I also used a 1/4-inch grid for the details on the face because I want the face to be as accurate as possible. And so for the hedgehog, I thought I'd start with the face just because it is the easiest part of the hedgehog to draw because there's so much going on. So I just start blocking in the darker values and then slowly build up some color. So the hedgehog has a lot of information on it. There's a lot of detail. And so the best advice I have for you just starting out going in is be patient. Definitely be patient. Try not to rush. If you're going too fast, it's easy to get frustrated. So just take your time while you're drawing. And this hedgehog took, I lost track of how many days it took, but it definitely took a long time, and I drew it over the period of 2 weeks. So this is not a one afternoon project. This is definitely a couple days of effort. And I have my reference picture from Pixabay, so I'll leave a link down below to the direct link to where you can download this picture for yourself. This is a royalty-free image to use, so you can follow along if you'd like. So I have drawn a hedgehog in the past. It was about a couple months ago, and there are a lot of things that I liked about it, but more things that I was not happy with. So I'm trying to, in this hedgehog drawing, I'm trying to incorporate the things that I thought I executed well and improve on the areas that I was not happy with. One of the most important lessons I learned was that you need reference points in your drawing because the hedgehog just has so much detail. You need to find places where you can really ground yourself. So in order to do that, I made sure that I started off by blocking in the very darkest parts of the hedgehog's body in just, geometric shapes. They're, kind of rectangular or triangular shapes. And that just helps me figure out where I am on the hedgehog's body because there's just so many spikes. So drawing those shadows really helped me figure out where I am in the drawing, and then I can kind of work from my reference points. So the best way I found to be as accurate as possible was to actually make my whole hedgehog on a 1/4-inch grid. And so previously I did not do that. I kind of, estimated where the spikes were in my beginning stages of my drawing, but I found out the hard way during the end of the drawing that nothing was where it was supposed to be. So to avoid that problem in this drawing, I decided to really go that extra step and split up my grid into 1/4-inch grids so I could at least try my best to get these spikes where I think they need to be. And so having clear rulers taped to the sides of the drawing really helped, so I know where the 1-inch marking is and the 1/4-inch markings are, because it's easy to get mixed up when you have so many different lines. So having that clear ruler definitely helped me establish reference points while I was trying to block in the areas that were in shadow. So I'm just slowly going around the entire hedgehog body just with my rulers and trying to draw the darkest areas in. So this is a very slow and tedious process, but I learned my lesson the hard way the first time around, so that's what I just kept telling myself while I was drawing in this stage where it's that, you know, you just got to get through this and it will make the rest of your drawing much, much easier. And I did find that to be true, so it is worth it if you want your hedgehog to be accurate to go through this extra step of trying to make a smaller grid so that your details will be as accurate as possible. And so after that first round of drawing the shadows, I needed to take a break, so I started back on the hedgehog's face and just slowly building up color. Well, here I'm using a tiny detailed brush to apply the Odorless mineral spirit and also a small filbert brush to blend out the color in the hedgehog's face. And I'll leave a link to a great video by Lakri where she explains some basic techniques on how to use mineral spirits for blending. And so while the hedgehog's face is drying, I'm gonna go back into the body of the hedgehog and just slowly darken up areas that I think need to be darker. And so we're trying to build up the color in the hedgehog's face, and I'm not sure if this is true with all hedgehogs, but with this hedgehog and the last hedgehog I drew, there were definitely a lot of colors in the hedgehog's face. And I mainly used some olive greens, some medium purples, and a light pink, besides the tan and grays. And I used probably 4 times the amount of colors in the hedgehog's face compared to the hedgehog's body. The hedgehog just has a lot of colors in it. I enjoy working with toned paper or off-white paper because it really allows you to have complete control over where the highlights are. I really struggle with using just plain white paper. I much rather work with toned paper because instead of having to, you know, preserve the paper color, I can actually add white and have it show up. So I feel like for most cases, especially with pets with fur that have highlights, I enjoy working with toned paper. And I'll leave a link down below in the description box of the specific paper I use. For this one, I use the Canson Meetens pastel paper. It's a 98-pound paper, so it's not very heavy, but it's heavyweight enough where it doesn't warp if you use odorless mineral spirits on it. And all the colors in this line are very nice to work with and very neutral for animals. So as we're getting into the second go around on the hedgehog's body, I'm using 2 plastic rulers to kind of help me focus on 1 square inch at a time. So I have the horizontal ruler taped across the page, and then I'm adjusting the vertical ruler so that I can just focus on 1 square inch at a time. This is very slow. It really doesn't really get slower than this, but it's one of the ways I've found that helps me really focus in on just coloring a small area at a time and helps me block off all the other information so I don't get too overwhelmed. But because the rulers are clear, I kind of know where I am. I'm not just lost on the hedgehog. It kind of allows me to, you know, see outside where I'm working. And one of the things I struggled with was really building up the values to be dark enough on the hedgehog's face. To get that sense of volume of the nose really sticking out, you really have to go darker than you expect on the sides of the nose so that it looks like it's actually popping out of the page. That's something I didn't really fully realize until I was, you know, over halfway through the drawing, that I really needed to get my dark values darker on the hedgehog's face. And that also helped the hedgehog spines that were lighter to actually pop out even more. So that helped on 2 different levels. It helped the contrast and it also helped build up volume. So now we're going to go in and just blend out the dark areas. And this is the Creative Mark Small Detail Brush. And I'll leave a link down to this brush down below, and it actually comes in a set. So you get a whole pack of small detail brushes you can use for a variety of different things. And so now in the third go around on the hedgehog's body, I'm finally adding some of the white. And so the white, I'm trying to go in just on the tips of the hedgehog's spines, and I'm trying to be as careful as possible so not to get the white mixed in with the black. I'm going back in with black, and so it's a lot of back and forth in building up color, building up the light colors and the dark colors. Because I was working with the hedgehog spines for so long, I was, kind of getting eye fatigue, so I decided to rotate my hedgehog drawing 90 degrees, and that helped me see the spines a little bit more clearly. I think when you go in thinking like I'm drawing a hedgehog, you have a mental image of what you think a hedgehog should look like, and so that might not actually be what your reference picture looks like. So by rotating your image, either rotating 90 degrees or flipping it upside down, you kind of trick your mind into thinking, oh, I'm just drawing a texture of something that looks spiky. I'm not drawing a hedgehog. And that will actually help you see your picture, your reference picture, more objectively. And then you can actually evaluate your drawing more objectively, because instead of thinking I'm drawing a hedgehog, you're thinking I'm drawing a texture that has a lot of pokey things in it. And so that helps you switch how you treat your subject, which I found always works, usually always works in your favor. And so now I'm just adding a bunch of color variation to the hedgehog's face, and you can see that I'm using a lot of different colors, but I'm applying it in a very light way so that it's subtle. So I use purple, but I'm not putting a lot of pressure with the purple. So when you look at the hedgehog, you mainly see the grays and the browns, but the undertone of it is definitely varied. So some areas are a muted green undertone, some areas are a muted pink undertone. And that's really important to realize, that in order to give something a subtle color, you just need to learn how to control your pressure. So this is now the fourth time we're going around with the spikes. And I'm just going in and trying to build up the intermediate values. And I'm also introducing a warm brown with a very sharp pencil tip, or sharpened to a very fine point. And I'm just trying to define these spikes a little bit more than they were previously. And I'm still using that grid, so I'm still aligning my two rulers to be to help guide me to see just 1 square inch at a time, and I'm just going around the whole hedgehog's body again. I did find out that the width of my rulers was conveniently 1 inch, so I could just stack my second ruler on top of the first ruler I had taped down to the paper, and just move the second ruler, slide it over 1 inch, and just keep working, which was a nice perk. I did not realize that earlier. And so we're just going in again, and so it's a lot of back and forth of adding your dark, middle, and light values. And so you don't have to actually define every single spike. What I learned from my first time drawing a hedgehog was that the most important spikes are the ones near the face. So those spines need to be fully drawn out and fully rendered. The spines further away from the face, you can kind of think of it like a camera. So the part that's in focus is typically the face, and then the regions of the rest of the body that are, typically further away from the camera will be a little bit blurry. So you can use that effect in your favor when you're drawing, put the most amount of detail and focus on the face and the head, and the rest of the body can actually be less defined than you realize they need to be. So you can actually make a modification to your reference picture and kind of blur the areas farther away, and it would still look natural. You don't need to have the areas defined as crisply as your face, but when someone looks at it, they'll still recognize it as a spiky texture because you have those regions that you took a lot of time to define, which were in light and shadow. But when someone looks at it, they'll focus on the hedgehog face and zoom in on that, and then the rest is kind of can be blurry, but it'll still look okay. And so, and the final touches, I'm actually trying to step back from my drawing, and this is probably every 10-15 minutes. I'll step back about 10 feet and have the drawing next to my reference picture on my computer, and whatever areas that look a little bit different when I squint my eyes, I'm gonna either make that area lighter or darker or add a little bit more color, and that's just refining the small details. So we're about wrapping it up right now, and if I didn't explain anything clearly, please ask down below in the comments section and I will try my best to answer your questions. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I'll have my Instagram link down below, but I do have a poll I post once a week where I ask what subject you'd like to see me color next. So actually this hedgehog was voted on Instagram, so that's why I ended up drawing a hedgehog. And I did learn a lot by doing a hedgehog the second time around. I am much more happy with how this one turned out than my previous hedgehog. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos of mine, I do have a playlist of animal drawing time lapses in my channel that you can check out. If you'd like to subscribe, make sure you also hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when I upload my next time lapse. I typically try to upload time lapses every Tuesday, so it's a time lapse Tuesday. And I'm also working on doing sort of shorter 5 or 10 minute videos later on in the week, so it's kind of just like an artist tip, art advice video series that I'll have that are not time-lapse related. So if you're interested in that, definitely subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.